So I'm hanging out with a friend, except this friend is tall, dark, and handsome. My only goal is to not catch feelings for him. Okay, I'm gonna keep it friendly. I'm one of the broskies. I'm gonna keep it cool. But like, no.
What's up, guys? It's JQ. Sex matters, and if anyone tells you otherwise, they are full of shit. Sex matters to men, and it matters just as much, if not more, to women. If you're not having sex regularly in your relationship, that can spell doom for the relationship, and if one or both of you is not getting your sexual needs and desires met within the relationship, that can also create problems. You're going to want to stick around for the end of this video because I'm going to go into detail about how and why that can come up in your relationship. This is going to be useful both for men and women. Before I get into that, I just want to share briefly a key difference between how men and women evaluate each other. Women tend to look at men and judge them based on their perception of the future. Can he provide a good future for her and the family, love, resources, protection, etc.? Whereas men tend to evaluate the woman in part based on her sexual past and what has she done in the past. There's no amount of feminism or culture that will ever change this because it's hardwired into our biology to prefer certain things about the other gender. Enter a post that I found on Reddit that illustrates this point very clearly. This post was written by a female whose relationship became very troubled after it was discovered that she had done some things in her past sexually that she doesn't want to do with her fiance. Let's take a look. I've copied this post into a Google document because I've needed to censor some of the words in the post to be compliant with YouTube's terms of service. But if you want to look it up on Reddit, you can check it out there. All right. My fiance became upset when he heard I've done sex acts with exes that I don't want to try with him. I've been together with John for 3 years total and we've had a great run so far. Even from early on, I thought he could be the one, so I happily said yes when he asked me to marry him a few months ago. I thought things were great, but suddenly I feel like we're at a serious impasse that has made things very tense between us. We hosted a small get-together, which mostly included friends I had from college. I think with all the recent stress, we went all out on the booze, and the booze was flowing freely. At one point, we had a party game of sorts where the topic became kind of sexual. I don't want to get too explicit, but basically it came up whether I had ever had a certain type of more adventurous sex. I didn't feel comfortable answering, but a friend of mine who was super wasted blurted out that I did it with X and Y. I was super mad that she violated my privacy like that, but I didn't want to ruin the party, and we kind of laughed it off and moved on. First of all, let me just state clearly that that is super inappropriate for her friend to share those kind of details. It does point out, though, how women often are their own worst enemy when it comes to relationships. Oftentimes, women hate it when their girlfriend is in a happy, stable relationship, and so they will consciously or subconsciously do things to try to sabotage that relationship. I think this girl knew that sharing this would be super, super hurtful to this girl's fiance, but she did it anyways. You have to be really careful. For all the women watching this, you be so careful who your friends are. And that goes for anyone, of course, but it's more damaging to women, this type of thing. I thought that was it, but later that night I could tell that John seemed very upset, and I asked him what was wrong. We had never really discussed our sexual history, and frankly, I thought we both preferred it that way. Now John asked very probing questions. For example, he asked how many times I had done that sex act with. I was reluctant, but I answered honestly that it was about 8. That's significant. He also asked me about some other acts which I had done, and I don't want to get into that. Then came to the real issue. He said he felt upset that I had done those things with all those guys, but I refused to try it with him. It's true. Emphasis on the word he asked. I'm going to come back to that in a second. It is true that he asked before, and I said it's not something I want to do, which is true. I'm not sure how to explain it, but the act feels kind of degrading to me. I've kind of enjoyed doing it in a wild phase of my life, because there was this appeal of trying something more taboo, but only with casual partners. But I don't want a man that I love and respect so much and who respects me to do that to me. That idea just sounds completely off-putting to me. I tried to explain how I felt to John, but he did not see it that way. He said some hurtful things during the conversation. He knew briefly I had a thing with a baseball player in college, and he said how I was happy getting on my hands and knees to do that with him by a left fielder, but suddenly became a prude for me. He realized it went too far and apologized immediately, but the tension between us remained palpable. Okay, so I'm going to interject there for a second and say he's absolutely right to be upset with this. Essentially, she was wild, and not just once. She was wild a bunch of times with a bunch of different people, and she doesn't want to be wild like that. Women often don't understand just how disrespectful and hurtful this is. But it is, because it's essentially her giving her most intimate self and being her most exposed with a guy that she wasn't even dating, somebody that didn't even love her, but she won't do that for the man who she loves, for the man who wants to become her husband. That's just, it's so hurtful and so disrespectful. So he's absolutely correct to be upset about that. We haven't been intimate since this fight, if you can call it that, and I'm not sure how to get there. Has anyone dealt with something similar? Here's the thing, right? Anytime a woman says, I don't want to do that, just add the 2 words at the end of that sentence, in parentheses, with you, okay? Because as this example shows, there is a guy with whom she would do that with. And when women are very attracted to you and super into you, they will do anything, and they want to be ravaged by you. They want you to do anything. And I have experienced this many times in my life. They want you to do anything to them. And so if that's not the case, unfortunately, it shows that she's not so attracted to this guy, and that he knows that at a deep level. And it's just so hurtful. There's an update from her. Unfortunately, I don't have a happy update, but I'm grateful for all the advice. Basically, what happened is that her fiance expressed that, you know, she reluctantly agreed to do this with her fiance. They did it, but it didn't feel good really to either of them. And, you know, she felt bad afterwards, and he just couldn't feel attracted to her anymore, and they broke up. And I'm going to explain why this is. All of us men want to feel chosen by the woman that we pick, meaning we want to feel loved and committed to and desired in a way that she has never done for another man before, that she would take it to a deeper level with us. We all desire that as men, just like women want us to choose them and over any other woman in the world. When a woman has done things with other men sexually that she's not willing to do with you, it unfortunately shows that she's not as attracted to you because she's not willing to do those things with you. She's not willing to share herself so intimately with the person that she loves the most. That would kind of be like you saying, well, I've given my full commitment and resources and time and protection to other girlfriends in the past, but now that you're my wife or my fiance, I'm not going to do that with you. That would be incredibly hurtful to her. Just like if your fiance found out that you had, you know, done something special with a past girlfriend, like taking her on a really special trip or something like that, and you're not willing to do that with her, she's going to be very hurt by that. As I said before, if a woman is really into you, she will make it easy. She'll make it easy for you to see her. She'll make it easy for you to go out with her. And she will want to be incredibly wild, nasty, and adventurous with you in bed. More on that in just a second. But let's take a look at what genuine burning desire really looks like.
So I'm hanging out with a friend, except this friend is tall, dark, and handsome. My only goal is to not catch feelings for him. Okay, I'm gonna keep it friendly. I'm one of the broskies. I'm gonna keep it cool. But like, no. I'm gonna have to sing my song, Self-Control with Kind and Good. Be like Jesus and we should. And he has to hang out, but he has to take pictures. Like, we're gonna go take pictures together.
Okay, there's a couple things I want you to notice about this video. First of all, look at how excited she is, okay? This girl could not be more excited to go out with this guy because she has genuine burning desire for him. She thinks he's hot, she thinks he's attractive, and she's like, yeah, I'll do whatever to hang out with you. At this point, they're not in any sort of, it sounds like they don't have any intimate relationship yet, but I can assure you that if that comes up, she's already decided that she is ready to do that with him because she already knows how she feels about him. The takeaway from this is that you should focus on women who feel this kind of way about you because life is so much easier when they do. The other thing that I want you to notice about this video is how she said that she's going out to hang out with him and they're going to take pictures. Okay. And you know what? That sounds fun. But what she didn't say? They're not going on a fancy date. They're not going to a fancy restaurant. There's no like fancy or big money spending taking place here. And she's thrilled and she's dressing herself up, doing her makeup as best as she possibly can to be as attractive to this guy as she sees him. That's what it looks like when a girl really wants you. What does this mean for you as a guy? It's kind of similar to what I said in my last video about being upfront with women about your intentions and what you want to do. Just like you don't want to get to know a girl before you start dating her, you want to make your intentions known. The same applies as you start to become romantically involved with a woman. You want to make your sexual desires and fantasies known to her and be incorporating that sooner rather than later. That doesn't mean you need to do everything on the first time, but you should be introducing these things, these more adventurous sex acts should be introduced early into your sexual relationship with her so that it is known that that's what you like, that's what you're into. And during that phase, when things are still forming and there's a risk that more of a risk that she could lose you, she's going to feel into that dynamic and want you to do those things with her because she's going to feel desired. When you don't bring it up until later, she subconsciously feels that you are timid about asking for what you want or going for what you want. And these are just, I don't even think women really consciously know this, but on a subconscious level, they're a bit turned off when that happens because they know that the guy who is very sexy, confident, and not afraid to be turned down is going for the things that he wants early in the relationship. So whether you're into this act, threesomes, any other wild stuff that you are into, should be going for that, talking about that earlier rather than later in a relationship so that she knows what you're about and she can decide for herself, of course, whether she's into that or not. But this guy created this problem a little bit himself by waiting too long to basically try what he wanted to do with her. And, she subconsciously has the feeling that he's not as confident and sexy as these other guys. Now, sometimes women get upset when I say things like this. So if you're a woman watching, what I want you to know is in no way am I suggesting that you should do things in your sex life that you don't want to do. What I am saying, though, is that you should never do anything with a guy that you wouldn't do with your husband. Your husband and the man you choose needs to be the man with whom you are the wildest, you are the most intimate, you are the most nasty, you desire him the most. It has to be that way so that you both can have a fulfilling sexual relationship and romance throughout life. If there's anything that you wouldn't do with a husband, do not do that with anything else, with anyone else, because if it ever comes out like it did in this situation, that will be so hurtful and destructive to him and the relationship. It is really not that hard for a woman to keep a good man. She should be useful. She should keep herself, looking attractive, and she should be wild and desire him. If she just does those three things, most men will want to stick around and stay in that relationship because they know that would be a lot to give up. Guys, this also points out another important fact, which is that you don't ever want to be a woman's number 2 choice. And a lot of women at a certain point in their life, they decide that they're looking for something more stable and they sort of settle, or they pick a guy who is a little safer, let's just say. Someone whom they feel wouldn't leave her. And while it is a good idea for women to pick a guy with whom they feel they can have a stable relationship, it also has to be a man who she just desires and she feels is the best guy that she's been with in her life. And guys, if you ever get a sense that that's not the case, do yourself a favor and leave that relationship because it will never get better. She will always pine for the guy that she couldn't have, and she'll resent you because you're not that. Now, as a man, you also have an obligation to develop yourself in such a way so that she feels that way towards you. Something I noticed in some of the comments is that some of the comments are kind of apathetic. Guys will say, well, these women, they're just terrible and they don't want a good man, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. They do want a good man. And you have the responsibility to develop yourself into a good man, just like they have the responsibility to carry themselves as a good woman. We each have that responsibility. And the way it goes is that as a guy, as you continue to develop yourself, as you step into your masculinity, as you become stronger, as you go for what you want, as you exhibit these qualities, the better quality of women and the more options that you will have available to you. All right, guys, so if you want more information about how to do that, there's a couple of things you can do. Number 1, you can get on my email newsletter. There's a link to that below. Number 2, you can book a one-on-one call with me and see if doing some coaching would be helpful to speed up this process. And number 3, I'll be hosting a retreat in the next couple of months. Get on my email newsletter for more information about that. Thanks, guys. I will see you in the next video.